Welcome to the Record Machine Show, a podcast featuring interviews from indie and renowned artists from all genres of music. Now, here's your host, James Michael Hollenstein.
Welcome to the Record Machine Show. I'm your host, James Michael Hollenstein. Today's guest is someone who truly embodies what it means to be an independent artist in today's music landscape. And he's no stranger to the show. Making his return for a second appearance, I'm excited to welcome back rock recording artist Keith Shaw. Keith is a dynamic force in the world of rock Español, and pop. And an artist who doesn't just create music, but builds it from the ground up. From writing and performing every track to producing, mixing, mastering, even designing his own artwork. He's a one-man powerhouse who represents the true spirit of DIY music. Over the last couple of years, Keith has continued to expand his reach on a global scale, performing across the United States, Europe, and the Caribbean, and gaining recognition from some of the top independent music organizations around the world. We're talking major accolades, including honors from the 2026 Global Music Awards, Klausine International Music Awards, World Songwriting Awards, and multiple wins in 2025 like Songwriter of the Year, Album of the Year, and Best World Music Artist, just to name a few. His latest release, Incompetent Fool, is a bold, unapologetic rock track that pulls no punches, delivering a sharp critique wrapped in a powerful instrumentation and raw energy. It's the kind of song that not only grabs your attention, but makes you think. So whether you've been following Keith Shaw's journey or just discovering him for the first time, you're in for a great conversation. So let's get right to it. Let's put the needle to the record and listen to Incompetent Fool by Keith Shaw.
There's a hat on his head, but it doesn't fit right. Stumbling through the day like a child lost at night. He leaves chaos in his wake, a trail of confusion, always chasing things wrapped in good illusion. He sings his own praises, out of time, out of tune. A jester on the stage, he's dancing like a loon. Somehow he believes in the crown he never knew. The world sees a joker, yet he calls it truth. Incompetent fool, what do you see in the cracked reflections of a fantasy, spinning tales of grandeur where none exist, living in a world of make-believe bliss. A painting with colors that all fade to gray. A clown on the stage where the audience won't stay. Every promise he whispers hangs in the air like a leaf in the wind that leads nowhere. He's blind to reality, convinced he's the king in a kingdom of shadows. He's imagining, walking in circles, head up high, in a fool's parade beneath the dreamer's sky. cracked reflections of a fantasy, spinning tales of grandeur where none exist, living in a world of make-believe bliss.
You just heard Incompetent Fool by Keith Shaw, and I have Keith on the line for a chat. Keith, welcome back to the Record Machine Show. It's great having you on again. Since the last time you were here, how has your journey as an artist evolved both personally and professionally?
Good day, James. Good to be on the show again. I'll start off with that before we jump into the answer because, I just don't want to jump right into an answer. But it's great to be on the show again. You have a great show.
Thank you.
You get a lot of great people on there, and I'm pleased to be back. Since the last time I was here, actually, as far as anything absolutely unique that's evolved in the past, I guess, 13, 14, whatever it is, months since we've chatted on the show, not a ton of stuff has changed. I'm just kind of keeping on my same path, just little tiny steps of continuous improvement, like the Japanese do, like Kanzai engineering is like little tiny steps, of improvement, not like just big bites of anything. So, same thing, writing and listening and woodshedding and practicing and trying to play, different types of interesting sounds, no matter what instrument they come out of. That's really what I kind of do. I don't have like any magic vitamin or anything like that I do. I just always look for ways to consistently improve and build on what I did before.
Yeah, that's a good plan. Now, I've noticed you've started releasing some singles, and we'll talk about those in a few moments. Do you plan on releasing another full-length album, or are you just sticking with the singles thing for now? Well,
actually, the first album I did was intentionally an album. So that was in 2020. That was the first album I ever did was 2020. Because I didn't start in this writing and recording my own original music till 2017. So I'm kind of I'm just like a teenager, so to speak, right? So 2017 to now is what, 9 years? Wait, that's not even a teenager. I'm still like a preteen. But Haunted was intentionally an album. Tacos and Beers was intentionally an album. My third album, Jeans and Leather Jackets, was actually, like I said, I'm going to write a bunch of singles and release all the singles, and then I'll compile it into an album. And I did the same thing with Vaqueros and Chaquetas de Cuero, my completely in Spanish album. I did the same thing. I did it all the singles, and then I put it together. So what I've been doing since, that was February of 2025 when I did Vaqueros y Chaquetas de Cuero. So I haven't put out an album since, but I put out, and it's funny, I was thinking about this the other day, counting on my fingers. How many songs have I done since last February? So I've got probably 10 or 11 or whatever singles I put out since then. Some of them which are live in the marketplace, as you know, in the radio universe. But as far as making another album, it'd be like a compilation. It'd be like, when a band says, okay, here's my greatest hits, and then they put it into a compilation type thing.
Right.
I'm not sure that's always the best route. And I've had this conversation. It's funny you bring it up because I've had this conversation with fellow musicians, like which comes first? It's like the chicken and the egg thing. Do you make the album and then you release stuff off the album, or do you release singles and then you say, hey, here's one place where it's real easy to find all, 10 of these singles that I put over the past year. I think for me, putting out singles, I get more impact because then it's like you're focusing on that one song and you're focusing on promoting it. And you're focusing on, trying to make it go as far as it possibly can, giving it good traction in the radio stations, whether they're internet or terrestrial or whatever, streaming, whatever, the streaming services, whatever. So that's probably what I'm going to do from now on, is just keep putting out singles. And then if I'm bored one day, I'll just take a bunch of them singles, master them to an album, and then it would just be electronically on one of my website things, either my website or Bandcamp or Spotify or whatever. So that's a long way of getting to what my thinking is.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Now, you've been performing internationally across the U.S., Europe, and even the Caribbean. How have those experiences shaped your sound and perspective as an artist?
Yeah, those those are actually from a galaxy long, long ago. Because I actually, a couple of years ago, when I started going down the path I am now, I stopped doing any kind of live performances. Because it's kind of hard for me to reproduce all of the crazy thoughts that go into any one of my songs live. Because I can't be like this one-man band with a guitar in one hand and a bass in another and a keyboard in another and whatever. So I've kind of winded that down. But it was good experience because it did get me out to different places. It gave me the opportunity to say to myself, hey, I'm not just a guy playing in like the corner bar or whatever. Not to brag about it, but just for me to say, hey, you know, I've gone a little bit farther than I ever thought that I did. Like I stretched out a little bit farther, you know. So when I got to play in places like the UK or like in Belgium, you know, it was like a great experience. And in Belgium, when I played in Belgium, that was all original music, and it was great. You know, and some other place I've had to play, you kind of got to do this mixed bag of covers, and you can kind of sneak in some originals, whether they're yours or they're other people's in your musical troupe. You know, work them into the thing. But for me, playing live anymore isn't the way to go.
Right.
Because I want to play all original stuff, and I want to play it. I have done probably from 2020 during the COVID, and then up to the beginning of 2023. I used to play solo and just do nothing but originals. But then I said, you know what? I'm kind of bored with that. You know, you're just there and you're trying to make your guitar play the bass and lead and this because you're just like a one-man band type thing. And I wanted to be able to, for nobody else but me, just expand all of musical capabilities. So if I hear sounds in my head, I don't always know if they're going to be played on a guitar or on a keyboard or on a bass even.
Right.
So it just gives me my path right now just gives me so much more creativity.
Like creative freedom, right? Because you don't have to worry about performing that stuff live because it's only something that you could do in the studio, right?
Right. So I'm kind of like I don't know. I'm trying to think. Oh, fortunately, it's kind of guy named Elliott Smith. Guy named Elliott Smith, a really talented guy, sort of like in that Beatley type thing.
Right.
He used to do all of his albums that he did while he was alive were just him in a studio. I think he was lived in California. That's all he did. And then when record companies tried to push him to do more, he was like, man, I can't do that. Like, you know, I'm spending all my time making music the way that I wanted to. And unfortunately, it wound up in not such a happy ending type of thing. But I always go back to guys like him. I always go back to super well-known bands like the Beatles that from, I don't know, what was it, like the 1966, 1967? They didn't perform anywhere except for on the rooftop when they did that rooftop thing in London. But they didn't go on big tours at Shea Stadium and whatever. They were just like studio guys, man. They just went in the studio and they were like ultra creative, and they figured out all different ways that they can make music more interesting. And that's the spirit of what I try to do. Like I take guitars and I temporarily modify them to get certain kinds of songs and feelings out of it, and then I remember what I did, and then I change them back to their original self. Right. So I can't do that if I was doing it live, but in the studio I can do whatever I want. Exactly. And you truly do everything yourself: writing, recording, producing, mixing, mastering, even doing the artwork. What drives you to stay fully independent? The fact that, you know, it's funny, I've had this conversation with people before, and I don't like to use the word control because sometimes it gets like psychological. Right. Like, you know, he's a control freak. Oh my God, he's a control freak. You know, he's micromanaging, whatever. But you have incredible control and ownership too. You get the ownership. The ownership should be without saying, but you get incredible control over what you want to create and incredible flexibility of what you create. So I can be going down matter of fact, a song that I'm working on now. It's a song that's going to come out. It's going to come out in the summertime. It's already on my calendar, like, because I got to have like a date to kind of hold my feet to the fire. Mm-hmm. A song that's called Summer, and I'll bet you $5 you can't guess what it's about. The summer, right? So that's this song, like I got all the music done. I got all the keyboards. I got a horn section and I got all this other kind of cool stuff in it. And then I had completely different lyrics for it. And I said, wait a minute, the lyrics don't go with the song anymore. Because I took it down this path with like congas and like, all this kind of stuff like you would hear from like Island Beach Band.
Right.
So then I said, wait, I got to rewrite this. And so then I said, man, I got to think of lyrics that sound really summery. Oh, wait, let's just call it summer. And then it started to flow. So yeah, I have incredible flexibility. So if I'm going to, like if I was in a studio, I would have had to just keep going down the path that I was going. But now with this, I can turn on a dime. I could blow the song up and start over again if I want to. Or I can just do like I'm doing with this song Summer and say, man, I got a really good musical part to it. Let's make new lyrics that fit the song, and then let's get it out to the marketplace at the beginning of the summer, and then let's see what sticks. So control, flexibility, like on that song too, not to get too far from the other stuff I know that you'd like to talk about, but on that song, like originally I had like organ sounds in there and stuff. And I said, wait a minute, that doesn't work. So I ripped out all the keyboard tracks, and then I said, man, so I wrote out a horn section that sounds, like a horn section should sound for kind of like a beachy reggae sort of a thing. So that's the kind of stuff that really makes me feel good, is the control and flexibility.
Right. And you do the artwork too, so that's pretty cool. Yeah,
that's something I've always done. From the first album that I did in 2020 called Haunted, that's when I actually started seriously doing the art stuff. And then, just like anything else, you get better at it. You get better and you get better and you get better. And then finally came up with like my own custom logo and stuff. So like now for the past 14 months on my last two albums, plus all of the singles I've put out since the end of 2024, now like I have I think a unique logo and a look and a consistent look to my stuff. So even if you weren't familiar with me and you picked up my one album or you picked up my latest single, you go, oh yeah, this is the same guy, because I've got a brand now. So even with the artwork, just like the music evolves. Like I learn how to play different things. I learn how to play different instruments, or I invent an instrument. Like I say, when I modify a guitar or something, invent a different kind of instrument by stringing it completely unique. But even with the artwork, all of that stuff evolves. The brand evolves, everything else. Not that I'm a big brand like Campbell's Soup or anybody like that, but at least all my stuff looks consistent.
Right. And I think like having your own brand is important because people will recognize it. Yeah.
I mean, look at a band like Chicago. They've had that Chicago logo,
right,
for, I don't know, 40 years. But as soon as you see, even if, well, that's not a good example because you can't like disguise it, but it's Chicago, it's not like some other city,
I think everybody should have their own brand.
Yeah. But I've seen bands, well-known bands that I actually love their stuff, but like every time they put out an album, they're, like the artwork's going to change, of course. You're going to have, maybe you have flowers one time and the next time you have mountains or whatever. I mean, that goes without saying, but like their brand, the name of the band, their logo, their recognizability part of it changed on every one. Now, finally, they got to a point, this one band that I'm thinking of in my brain, finally, and I'm not going to say who they are because I love them. They finally got to a consistent brand. But for years, like you were like, okay, oh yeah, it's them. So you gotta have that kind of
consistency.
Evolving thought. Yeah, well, it's the evolving thought process too. It's like, it'd be nice if you could, like the first day you said, I'm gonna start recording my own records. Oh, I'm gonna make the record this way, and your brand is this way. For me, it didn't happen that way. It took, since 2017 to evolve to where I am now. But that's what's fun about it.
Yeah. And you can always, touch up your brand without changing, the logo. You know what I mean? You could change the colors and stuff like that. You don't have to, like, change the way it looks. You know what I mean? Like the way it's lettered or the font and all that other stuff. But you can certainly, give it a makeover or a touch up at least.
Yep, that's what I do. Sometimes it's black. Sometimes it's white. Sometimes it's somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Depends on what it's laying on top of, you know?
Yeah.
So it doesn't get lost in the whatever the background thing is. But yeah, that's why I love doing that stuff, because I get to, I'll just say it like it is. I get to do everything.
Right. And you don't have anybody telling you what to do. So,
well, I do have a cat, and he does stare at me, but no, that's just a joke.
Walter, right?
But yeah.
He's your manager.
He loves. He steals the most comfortable chair in my studio, and then God, that's like I was trying to record a whistle, like a whistle, you know, like a referee would use.
Yeah.
For the song "Summer." So I'm thinking, geez, I'm going to blow this whistle. He's going to jump 10 feet in the air and take off like a rocket. Just slept through the whole thing.
That's funny. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is. He's a hoot.
Now, since your last appearance, you've raked up some major awards, including the 2026 Global Music Award and a World Songwriting Award. Plus, recently, you won a couple of medals at the European Music Awards as well. Which of these recognitions have meant the most to you, and why?
Actually, because all of these are being judged by, you know, as they say, a competent panel of judges or whatever, they're all pretty important to me. And what's really, really important to me is it's not just my English language versions of my music. Mm-hmm. It's also the Spanish language versions of my music, which when I made a decision to start writing and recording in Spanish versions of my songs, and the lyrics aren't always tit for tat. So the music might be the same, but the lyrics might say something a lot differently. But when I started doing that and recording in Spanish, I said, that was actually 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. This time, 3 years ago, one of the last times I performed live, I actually sang a song that I translated from English into Spanish. And the people that were sitting there, was probably 70 people in this room. It was like a listening room. So they were listening. It wasn't like a bar where people are talking and drinking beer and whatever. This was a listening room setup. So they were all staring at me. So about 70 people. And I said, for my next song, I'm going to do this song. I said, it's a song that I've translated into Spanish, and went through a little just quick thing and jumped into it. And it was like, I had, 70 people. I think I had 140 eyeballs that were just like glued to me because nobody expected it. And I said, you know what? I'm onto this. And then some people came up to me afterwards and said, man, that was great. Oh God, I didn't know you could do this and this and this and this and this and this. And so then in 2023, I really didn't do any recording until the end of the year. So I just worked on a bunch of other stuff, including that. So when I started releasing music again at the very, very beginning of 2024, one of them was the Spanish language version of a song that I had already written. The English version is Waiting for a Miracle, but and then in Spanish it's Esperando un Milagro. I couldn't believe the response to it, and I started getting awards for English version songs. I was getting awards, but I was also, whenever I got my Spanish version songs out in front of the judges, I was winning awards for that. And to me, that was the most fulfilling part of it, was taking a risk and then having somebody say, you know what, we like that enough that we would recognize your effort, your talent, whatever. And here's a little crystal thing. Here's a medallion. Here's a certificate of, achievement, whatever you want to call them. But to me, that was the most fulfilling part. It wasn't so much where they came from, like Global Music Awards, like Indie Radio Music Awards, or Red Carpet Awards in Europe. It wasn't so much the brand of the awards. It was what they awarded me for. And the ones I cherish the most are ones that I look at from the Indie Music Channel Awards last year, and it's Best World Music Song. And at the bottom, it's Sin Fronteras. It's a Spanish language song, and they said, man, we like this the best. Those are the things that get me jacked the most.
Yeah, I can see why. You won a Rampage Award too, right? A couple of those as well, right? The last year?
Yeah, I got Rock Artist of the Month, which was really good. Couple times. Got recognized one for, they call it the Do-It-Yourself Award, DIY.
Nice.
I'm pictured in my brain. Which is for people like myself who are, home studio aficionados, home studio rats, home studio whatever you want to call it. But that's nice to be recognized for those. I mean, those are voted on by a jury of your peers. They're still nice to have. It's nice to be recognized in a bunch of different ways, either like under a broad umbrella, like rock artist, or like the Red Carpet Awards where it was Songwriter of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Like an umbrella. I call those umbrella awards because it's not specific to like a category like rock song or pop song or funk song or whatever. It's like an umbrella award. I mean, those are pretty darn fulfilling to me as well. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's not so much where they come from. It's the fact that you do get recognized, you put time and effort, and sometimes for me, I put emotion into them. Not like emotion, like I always know when I have a good song.
Right.
Like when a song's come together, because I'll be listening to it, even if it's not fully polished and ready. If I start to feel some sort of emotion thing, like inside, then I know I'm onto something. If it can pull some emotion out of me type thing, I feel like, a little misty or whatever, then I say, okay, I'm on the right path. Let's keep going.
Nice. Let's talk about your latest release, Incompetent Fool. What inspired this message behind the song? Well,
Incompetent Fool, if you look at the definition of a fool, you know what that is. If you look at the definition of incompetent, you know what that is. Mm-hmm. Just kind of speaks to what's going on. I actually wrote that before all the, as they say, furs hitting the fan as it is right now. I kind of had that in my hip pocket, because it's another thing too about being an independent musician. I have written some stuff that some might consider a little controversial, whatever, in the past, and I was always a little bit reserved or shy about letting it out. But with this one, like I kind of sat on it for a little bit. Like I wrote it and then kind of sat on it, and then as more and more things started happening, revealing themselves in real time, in real life, I said, holy cow, maybe I got like a little crystal ball on my desk or something on my console here, because all the stuff that I wrote in this thing is happening in real time.
Right.
So I did a soft launch of it. It was the middle of January when stuff really started to reveal itself with all the stuff in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And I said to my wife, I said, you know what? For the next 2 weeks, I'm putting as they say in basketball terms, a full court press on finishing this song. I'm getting this song done in 2 weeks. So if you can't find me, if I'm late for dinner, if I'm whatever, I'm going to be trying to get this done, fully recorded, mixed, mastered, everything else. And then picked a date on the calendar, which happened to be Friday the 13th, because I said Friday the 13th, how can you go wrong? You got like Jason with the hockey mask, and Freddy Krueger, all them visuals. So I said it's perfect time. So I kind of did a soft launch. I only sent it out to about 50 stations or whatever, because I wanted to see what kind of response it would get. Mm-hmm. I got no negative response.
Well, that's good.
So then I said, okay, let's put on my big boy pants and let's just blast it out to the universe, which now it's blasted out everywhere and shows up on, I don't even know how many outlets it is on anymore, because it used to be great when I used to send out music to stations. Used to be real easy for stations to tag you, and you would, if they were on Facebook or they were on what was Twitter at the time, or they were on whatever, it was real easy for them to tag people like myself, and I would see my stuff everywhere. Now I just kind of have to assume that it's sticking, but I do find out later on where the song has gotten some kind of traction and stuff. But I had to write it. It had stuff that had to be said. Mm-hmm. It came out frighteningly accurate. Nobody could say I just made up a bunch of hooey, and I'm quite proud of it. And I don't care what anybody says about it negatively, but I just spoke the truth.
Yeah, the track has a strong, direct lyrical approach. Do you see music as a way to challenge or reflect what's going on in the world?
Actually, I go back to one of my heroes, Woody Guthrie. Woody Guthrie, I don't know if you've seen a very famous picture, I think it's in Getty Images, of Woody Guthrie with his acoustic guitar, and it says, it's handwritten on it, says, "This machine kills fascists." Right? He's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, whatever. I go back to guys like Woody Guthrie, who said, you know what? I'm just going to sing this stuff, and I don't give a rip what anybody thinks, right? Because he thought things needed to be said. And then I look at, guys like now, like Springsteen, or I look at the Dropkick Murphys, or I look at Green Day, or I look at Tom Morello, who used to be, I think he still kind of is, in Rage Against the Machine, or even a band like Rage Against the Machine,
right?
Who they saw things that weren't good, and they weren't afraid to sing and stake a position on what their opinion was of it. So a lot of people will say, well, why don't you just I'm going to kind of make a stupid voice. Why don't you just shut up and play music? You don't need to be involved in politics. That's bullshit.
It's up to you to do what you want to do. I mean, who's people to tell you what to do?
I know, but that's the same. That's what people will say, have said to people like Springsteen, people like Green Day, people who like Green Day. Green Day took that song "American Idiot" and made a Broadway play out of the gosh darn thing.
Right.
So so I think whenever you have a platform, a podium, whatever you want to call it, to speak out against injustice, against wrongdoing, all that stuff. If you don't take the opportunity to do that, then I don't think you have much of a spine. That's just me.
Yeah, and if people don't like it, they don't have to listen to it, right? They could always turn it off and go listen to something else.
Turn it off, leave the room.
Right.
Throw a brick through the TV. Whatever.
That's funny.
Oh, man.
Musically, you blend rock Español, and pop. How do you approach fusing those styles into your sound?
I let the song kind of tell me what it wants. I come up with a lyric. Not a lyric, but like I write out a song, or I'll come up with. Sometimes I'll hear like a melody in my head, and sometimes it won't be the words for the song it turns out to be. Like sometimes I'm like a little kid, like I'll sing like a sort of like kids make up nursery rhymes. I'll do that with songs sometimes, and I'll just have like stupid lyrics to something, and I'll say, wait a minute, I like the melody, but I can't sing about pork chops or whatever, right? Because I had a song that I was doing that, right? I was singing about meat, and then came up with a song, and I said, well, wait a minute, that's not going to work, so I better write lyrics to this song that I kind of made up in my head. But I let the song dictate what it wants to be. So it's not like I'm going to say, okay, every song's going to have whatever. It's going to have a guitar, it's going to have a bass, and it's going to have drums, it's going to have, somebody singing. I let the song kind of dictate to me. So I'll come up with the song, and as I'm recording it, I'll say, you know what? There should be congas in that part there. Mm-hmm. There should be tambourines in that part. There should be, wait a minute, that lead guitar part sounds great, but it's not working for me. I can't get the right tone to it. Mm-hmm. Wow, that would make a great bass line. So on a song like Breaking It All, the bass line in Breaking It All was actually going to be just one long guitar part playing through the whole song, changing and twisting and turning, and all the way from the first note to the very end of the song. I said, nah, that's like too much. So actually, the bass line for the song Breaking It All is actually a really, really long guitar solo.
Nice.
So I let the song kind of tell me what it wants to do. It's like there's no formula. It's not like having a Betty Crocker, if they still have them, Betty Crocker cookbook where it says, a cup of this and a cup of that, and then you stir it and then you bake. Right. To me, that's not what my songs are. My songs are cup of this. Oh, wait a minute, that's too much. Take it out. Oh, put salt in. No, not salt. Put sugar. That's kind of my thought process. It might sound scatterbrained, but
it works though, right?
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Now, you mentioned Breaking It All. That has a very different theme, rebuilding, standing strong, and pushing forward. What was the mindset behind that song? Well, everybody has in their life parts of their life where, well, I'm going to say everybody, but I'm going to say everybody anyway. So what? Has parts of their life that didn't go particularly well. Maybe they don't realize it at the time. Maybe they realize it later.
And then they say, geez, I got to change that stuff. You know, so I was kind of thinking about that. You get self-reflective, you know, and you say, geez, you know, even though things are like going really good right now, there's times where I wish I had done something a lot differently, right? And so I started coming up with this idea, you know, of like breaking out of the old way and building up the new. So Breaking It All was kind of about that. It wasn't like I was going through some rough patch or something where I had to get all my emotions on a piece of paper. It was just kind of just thinking about life in general. And then when I said, geez, when should I release this? After I turned the whole guitar theme through the whole song into the bass theme through the whole song, and then came up with, you know, the keyboards and all of the stuff that I layered on top of that and the strings and stuff. I said, when would be a really good time to introduce this song to the world? And I said, you know what? December's never a good time to launch a song unless it's like a holiday themed song, right? Because that's all you hear. You go in the shopping mall, you go into the supermarket, right. All you hear is jingle bells and the barking dogs, right?
Right.
So I said, you know what? Can't put it out on January 1st because that's a crappy day too, because everybody's tired from whatever they did the night before. So I said, well, you know, a couple days after New Year's, I will put that song out because it's a great way to start off the new year, because everybody makes resolutions about eating less, exercising more, stop smoking, stop drinking, this thing, that thing, whatever. So I said, what a perfect, for me anyways, a perfect time to launch like a theme song that maybe would inspire a couple of people. And wouldn't you know it, I got comments back that said, oh my God, that's such a great song to have now because this is the time when people do no smoking, no drinking, no eating, and whatever type thing. So, I mean, it's really just about realizing what's going on in your life and making changes instead of going down the same rat hole, you know?
Right. So it's safe to say it resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah, it did. Like I said, I usually get really good comments. Sometimes I'll get a comment somebody will say, you know, you should have done this a little bit differently. It's not a bad comment. It's like constructive criticism.
Right.
I take it with a grain of salt and I'll listen to it and I'll say, you know what? You're kind of right. I could have mixed that part a little bit different so something stood out a little bit more. So I listen to what people say. You know, just you got to take it as constructive criticism. But when you get constructive, positive input, then you're saying, man, that was good.
Yeah. It's always good to hear, right?
Yeah.
Between Incompetent Fool and Breaking It All, it feels like there's both confrontation and transformation. Was that intentional?
No, not actually. Not intentional at all. Like I said, I wrote, and I should back up a step because I'm kind of looking at it. I have a folder that has just songs all paper clipped together. And it just because I wrote a song doesn't mean it's always coming out next. So they're just like in a big file folder. And then when I need a song, I'll pull it out. So, you know, like I think I mentioned, like when I did Incompetent Fool, I actually wrote it, you know, probably towards the end of last year, and then it started to become like a not self-fulfilling, but a fulfilling prophecy sort of a thing.
Right.
So there was no tie between those two songs. Breaking It All was already done. It was already scheduled to be released and everything else. And I was actually working on while that was out there and getting traction and showing up on top tens and whatever, I was actually working on a different song called Under the Same Sky, about a man and a woman who are in two different places in the world, but they're looking at the same sky. So that's like they're linked together, even though they're geographically not in the same place.
Right.
But I stopped that song right dead on January the 19th or whatever the heck date it was, and then pivoted to Incompetent Fool. So Incompetent Fool and Breaking It All have no link other than I'm the person that created them both. So it wasn't like I was trying to do you get like a concept album where it tells like a story,
right? You
know, like it goes, you know, like Pink Floyd's The Wall, right? That's like a concept album, tells a story, you know. It's got like every song is like a chapter or series of chapters. Yeah, these two songs aren't intertwined at all. It's just the way they came out.
Cool. Now, as an indie artist who handles every aspect of your music, what advice would you give to other artists trying to take that same path?
You got to be disciplined, and I don't mean disciplined to sound like you're like so locked into stuff that, you know, you're almost like you're inflexible, but you have to have a certain level of discipline where every day that you can set aside some time to work on some part of your craft. So the technology part, so mixing and mastering and the software and the things that you plug in that, that do things like your phasers and pedal boards and this thing and that thing. You have to have discipline to work on different parts of it. Because if you're independent, nobody's going to do it for you. So that even not just the recording and creation part of it, it also includes I got this song and I really like it. I don't know if anybody else does, but how do I get it out in front of people? So part of being an independent artist is building relationships with people like you, like people like, the Record Machine Show, people at station, whatever, blah, 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 boom, right? Building those relationships. One of the things that I've always worked on and am proud of, and nobody's ever getting this list of relationships from me, is from 2017. 2017, when I released my first single, that was my music and me playing the whole thing, was started to build relationships. Now, unfortunately, some of those relationships faded away because the radio outlet goes away. Unfortunately, they don't all stay around forever because their lives change too, or they run out of money or whatever. But to me, is part of being an independent artist is building relationships, because at the end of the day, if you don't control all of those relationships and you let somebody take care of that for you, and then that person tells you to go away, or that person happens to just go away because, I don't know, they get out of the business, they pass away or whatever, then you don't have any of them relationships, right? So they're all gone. So if you're an indie musician and you're not building quality relationships and you're letting somebody else do all of that stuff for you, when it goes away, you're like left with an empty bag. That to me, that's the biggest part of the whole thing. I mean, writing and recording and singing and dancing and all that kind of stuff is obviously a big part of it too. But to me, relationship building is huge when you're an independent artist. Because if you're not good playing with others, like if you're the mean kid at the playground or whatever, you're not going to have any friends.
Right.
So you got to, and then, like I said, if you got to control all that stuff in the same way that an artist protects their music and lyrics and make sure that nobody steals that from them, they got to do the same thing with the relationships.
Right.
Don't let somebody steal them from you, because, like I said, if the person that's doing that for you and controls it goes away for whatever reason, then you're left with an empty bag. Now,
self-promotion is very important too when you're DIY too, right?
Right, and that's to me, that's part of the relationship building kind of stuff too. When I say relationship building, I guess really what I'm talking about is marketing and PR. Relationship is part of that, is a subset of that whole thing. But for me, you have to do something. For me, I have to do something musical every day. Doesn't mean I'm singing. Doesn't mean I'm playing guitar. I like to do all my getting out whatever's going on in my musical world. I like to get that out first thing. Then I go off and do some other stuff because, to me, things like working out are really important for my creative process, because if I'm not feeling good, I'm not going to be thinking good, and I'm not going to be as creative. I mean, some of my best creative ideas have come when I'm doing physical activity, running, lifting weights, whatever type stuff.
Right.
And I know other musicians that are exactly the same thing. And I say a thing, like a little saying, movement is medicine. I stole that from a musician who swears by, if he didn't do all of that kind of stuff, he'd probably be crazy. And he's a heck of a well-known musician. If you love hardcore music, he's really well-known in it. And then I try to be in the studio a little bit before lunch, and then I pretty much know what I want to do for that day, spend a couple of hours on it, and that's it. And then I move on to something else. But that's part of, like what I was saying, is part of discipline. Now, maybe that doesn't work for everybody because you have, you got to run off to a job after your coffee, but when you get home from your job, you can kind of kick that in at the end of the day, which at one time, that's what I used to do. I used to have to work all my musical challenges around whatever else I was doing that day, because I was running a couple of, cell phone businesses. So I'd do a little bit of stuff, and then I'd go to work for like 6 hours, and then I'd come home and finish up whatever, so you have to have some sort of discipline in order to do that, because unless you've got like a pretty fat wallet you're sitting on, and you can just fork out the Benjamins and whatever to have all of these other people do it, you gotta take on the responsibility of doing it yourself. But that's just the way that I'm built, and I love doing it.
Yeah, good advice there. Where can the listeners go to stay connected with you? Your website, social media, where can they find your music?
Well, my website, which is keithshawmusicofficial.com. Sorry for the long URL, but believe it or not, there's other musicians with the same name, so I have to squish that together. Facebook. So Facebook is just Keith Shaw Music. Instagram at Keith Shaw Music. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Keith Shaw Music. So those are a lot of the places that people can find my stuff. I'm in other places as well. LinkedIn and Blue Sky and Threads. I was trying to think of stuff. Or go to my website, keithshawmusicofficial.com, and sign up for my email list. There's a little field there, and you just type in your email and press the button, and you can do it that way too. Because, I send every day, it depends on how much I have to say too. And I'm not just going to, if I don't have anything to say, I'm not going to send out a bunch of needless posts or whatever. I might post a picture of a nice breakfast or something, but I'm talking about musically. But when I do that, I'm putting the stuff on all my socials, and then I send it out to my email list too. So I'm sending, I'm not even going to say how many I'm sending out, but I'm talking about, 5 figures worth of stuff's going out every day or every couple of days to people. So, because I want to keep people interested, and, so, and part of it too is in doing that. It's for all, because like I said, I didn't start doing this writing and recording and etc. on my own until 2017. It's kind of in a little way. Maybe some people I'm sounding mean. This is for all the people that said I couldn't do this stuff.
Right.
So it's kind of like I'm proving a point. Look, I can do this stuff, darn it.
Right. Well, you don't want to be one of those guys who listens to people like that, and then, you didn't do what you wanted to do, and then you wake up one day and say, why didn't I do that? I should have did it. Yeah. So you're doing it.
You don't have any regrets. So you want to get out there, and you gotta have a little bit of, you gotta have a thick skin. You gotta have, as somebody told me once, intestinal fortitude. When I was in high school, somebody said, I was playing sports, you gotta have intestinal fortitude. I'm like, what the heck is that? It's a big word when you're like in 10th grade, right? Intestinal fortitude. And so I said, what is it? And he says, go look it up. And I'm like, guts. I said, well, you just say guts. Yes, because it sounded like a more important thing.
It's just a fancier way of saying, throw a set.
Yeah. You got to have a thick skin. You got to have guts. You got to have some things that I've learned, because I have studied with some musicians that are far, far, far more famous than I am. Matter of fact, I have a handwritten list of a bunch of his isms, I guess you would call them. And one of them is having an attitude of gratitude. And that, you gotta, no matter what happens, you gotta have an attitude of gratitude. You gotta be thankful for whatever you get, even if it's only one person that ever listened to your song. It's better than no persons, right?
Exactly.
You gotta. So, that's a bunch of my thinking. Is, like I said, it sounds like I'm kind of scattered, but it's like I just pull these things out of the file cabinets in my brain, and then they come out.
Yeah, you're never too old to follow your dream, or follow your heart.
Yeah, you're not.
It's just,
you're not.
People, get afraid. Maybe they take advice from people. Oh, you're not going to be able to do that. You can't do that. You can do whatever you want if you put your mind to it. Yeah,
you can. You just got to be realistic about what you're going to accomplish. Because some people, it's not bad to reach for the very top, but you have to also be realistic at the same time. Like, if I don't get to the very, very top of Mount Everest, am I still going to be satisfied with only getting halfway? A lot of people, it's like an all or nothing game,
Right.
which ends up to be, for I would say majority of people, very disappointing. But if you're more realistic and then, set your goals realistically, you're going to be a lot more happier with it. Plus too, and actually I just saw this the other day. Ice-T, the famous actor and rapper, says, you're going to, instead of trying to take a big bite of everything at once, you're not going to be that happy. Just take little bites. And you take these little bites and little bites and little bites and little bites and little bites. And then all of a sudden you go, wow, I'm a lot farther along, because you try to do it all at once. Right? You're not going to be able to digest that really big bite. And he's a really cool guy, by the way.
Yeah, that's good advice, I think.
Yeah. I met him back November of 2024.
Nice.
He's a hoot.
Yeah.
So, but he always has these wisdom-y type things, and that was one of it. Like, you're going to accomplish more if you take small bites than instead of just taking one huge bite. And a lot of people just go for the big, try to eat the whole ice cream sundae at once, and what do you get? You get sick in the belly, and then you get brain freeze.
Exactly, so it doesn't work out.
You don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
But if you eat a little at a time, you're going to enjoy it a lot more.
That's absolutely correct, sir. Is there anything that we didn't cover today that you'd like to share with your fans or the listeners?
Sure. On, what the heck is it? Trying to think of what day. Oh, on April the 16th and 17th, I'm going to have a brand new single coming out called Your Words Are Lies. I've already kind of started to tease that a little bit in social media. It's about, even though the visual, because the visual to me was the most powerful when I came up with, is actually a woman pointing at the viewer and with a very angry face and a leather jacket and saying lies with an exclamation point. So that's where the title Your Words Are Lies come from. But it's actually about somebody, and it could be a man, could be about a woman, who's been deceived, who's been lied to. But at the end, our hero of the song has a happy ending when they sing, no more lies in your deceit. Your lies will fade, but I'll be free. And then the song ends. So that's what Your Words Are Lies about. So that's coming on April the 16th. Kind of I get the idea of that song. It's kind of poppy. It's not as hard edge as Incompetent Fool. And then on the heels of that, at the beginning of the summer, I'll have the song called Summer, in all caps, which is about the summer. It's about having fun at the beach and all that kind of stuff. So, once in a while I'll write like a fluffy song. They don't have to be like about a serious subject. They could just be fluffy.
Right.
And that song will be in English and in Spanish, because my plan is to put it out in Northern Hemisphere markets in the summer, and then Southern Hemisphere markets in the fall, because obviously in the Southern Hemisphere, summer comes at a different time, right?
Right.
So that's what the plan is for that. And then, like I said, I got my big folder full of stuff, because right now I've got, besides those 2 songs that are definitely on the calendar to be, or 3 songs if I count the Spanish language version, I've got about 5 other songs. 3 of them are completed. 2 of them, no, one of them needs vocals, and another one I'm just getting started on. So there'll be a bunch of stuff coming to get me through at least the end of the year into next year at this point. So even if I just sat on my hands and said, boy, I'm going to be a lazy bum and just eat popcorn and whatever, as long as I put them out, I'll still have enough music coming out to get me through the next, 8 months, 9 months, whatever. So all kinds of good stuff happening. But again, Your Words Are Lies coming out in less than 2 weeks. And then on June the 9th. Yeah, June the 9th will be the song Summer coming out, just in time for the first day of summer, which is June the 20th, I think, this year. So
nice.
I'm always pretty excited when I release a song. It's like birds leaving the nest, wanting to get out on their own and have some legs. But I mean, all in all, I consider this is the 3rd year of me really kind of being in this mode of just absolute focus and just making sure I'm putting something out every 6-8 weeks or whatever. Is just past 3 years have just been so much fun for me. And there's times when I'm going like, oh my God, I'm like so fed up with this. And then something happens. I'm going, oh, I love this so much.
Yeah.
So you're kind of on the roller coaster of stuff. But I tell you what, I just, since I sang that first song in Spanish in front of all of those people back in March of 2023, I just said, I'm not looking back. And then I did write a song about that experience of making a decision, sticking to my guns, even though I had doubt in doing it. And then that came about and morphed itself into the song that was No Mira Atrás, which means I didn't look back. So sometimes happy accidents come out of things that you do.
Everything happens for a reason, my friend.
Yeah. I think I had a song with that line in there, and I can't remember what it is.
Yeah. It's true, and I believe that the people that you meet along the way, you're meant to meet those people, too.
Yeah.
Good and bad, so too.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, there's that saying, too. You got to take the good with the bad or the bad with the good or whatever, but it's what you do with that stuff. I mean, part of, like I said, part of a musician, you have to be brave. You have to have, like I said, thick skin. You have to have courage. You can't be afraid of what people say. Not everything that you do is going to be a winner. Sometimes you're going to put a stinker out there and it's just going to, it's just going to crash and burn. You just got to expect that stuff. Unless you're putting out an album like Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon that I think was on the Billboard Top 200 or whatever for 50 years or something like that. Unless you got an album that's so spectacular like that, you got to expect. I mean, that's what it is. They float to the top. They get out there. People get excited about them, and then somebody launches something else, and there's another song, and then your stuff kind of floats down, and so that's why you just say, "Hey, I got another song coming." That's why I got 2 songs already. Ready to go with date wise, not produced wise, but I start putting pins on counters. Okay, here's the next song. So I don't know what's going to happen with Your Words. I mean, breaking it all did really well. Won some awards. Caer en la Tentación, which won a Radio Indie Music Award recently. Actually won a couple other awards. I mean, those were songs I put out that I didn't know what was going to happen, especially with Caer, which is Spanish language. I didn't know what was going to happen with that, but somebody judged it and said, "Hey, this is a nice song. Here's your little trophy. Here's your award, whatever." So I don't know what's going to happen with Your Words Are Lies, but that's okay because I got the song about summertime coming. Now that song, if summer does not do well, I'm going to be disappointed.
Everybody loves summer. I mean, come on.
I know. I'm right. When I made that song and it started morphing into this island sound with the congas and all that kind of, type of stuff and the bass line to go with it. And then I put the horn section in and I said, I got to rewrite the lyrics for this because it ain't what the heck? I still got the lyrics. I might make the original lyrics into some other song. And I can't remember the name of the song that it was going to be called. But now that I've morphed in the summer and I'm so excited about it, boy, if that turns out to be a stinker, I'm going to be like crushed for about an hour and then I'll go do something else. I'll go write another song.
I'm sure it's going to do well.
Yeah, I hope so because I think it'll be a fun song. I was talking to somebody about that too, that said, if you have a good summer song and people can dance to it and it's like memorable and people can kind of sing along, like how can you lose? Right. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I want to wish you the best of luck with that one.
Yeah. It's still a couple of months away, but it'll get there.
Well, Keith, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's always great catching up with you.
Well, James, it's always great being on the Record Machine Show. Hopefully, I always get tongue-tied after talking for an hour. But hopefully everybody will enjoy our conversation together. I hope we gave them something to think about and talk about and laugh about and cry about. Yeah. Again, thanks for having me on the Record Machine Show.
Well, you're welcome. And you know what? In a couple of months, let's do another chat again. We could talk about summer and the what was the other one called again?
Well, Your Words Are Lies is coming out in 2 weeks, and then Summer is coming out in the summer. There's the Spanish language version, which we'll be talking in the same thing. After that one, towards the end of the summer, I actually have a song called Strange Days.
Oh, okay.
That I'm thinking of being the next one, called Strange Days.
So what we'll do is, you could pick out the two that you want to talk about, and we'll do another show together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because these things are fun. It's funny because it seems like they all kind of hit at the same time. So I'm like kind of on a roll with talking to people like yourself the past couple of weeks, which is fun. I mean, it gives me to me this is another part of being an independent music person, which is a lot of fun. And again, it goes back to what I was saying before: relationships.
Yep, definitely. We started talking to you, I think it was like about 2 years ago, right? A little. Yeah,
pretty much so, before we could actually do a show together in February of 2025.
Yeah, so it was a little less than 2 years ago, but nonetheless, I mean, we've maintained the relationship since then. I mean, we talk, off the phone, or through messages and stuff like that, and I think it's great.
Yeah, like I said, the way that I view the music business, whether you're independent or whether you're tied to an agent or whatever, there's that point, like that 5-pointed star, and part of that thing is, do you play well? One of the points on it is, do you play well with others? And, if you're not good at playing in the sandbox with the other people, nobody's going to want to be your friend anymore. So you got to be, whether you want to or not, you got to be nice with different people. Yeah,
of course. It's always good to be nice anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Mr. Rogers made a whole career.
That's true, my friend. That's true.
Yeah.
But let's definitely in a couple of months, let's we'll stay in touch, and we'll definitely set up another one. I'd love to chat with you about those other songs, and we'll do it all again. We'll just pick it up right where we left off today. All right.
Absolutely.
All right, brother.
Absolutely.
You enjoy your Easter, and we'll be in touch. All right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye. Keith, it was great catching up with you today, and it's clear just how much your journey has evolved since the last time you were on the show. From performing across the globe to stacking up major awards and continuing to release powerful, meaningful music, you're really showing what it means to stay true to your vision and put in the work. What stands out most is that independent spirit, doing it yourself, staying creative, and continuing to push forward without compromising who you are as an artist. That's something a lot of people listening can respect and be inspired by. And for our listeners, if you haven't checked out Keith Shaw yet, now's the time. Dive into the catalog, follow him online, and support what he's doing. Because independent artists like Keith are the heartbeat of the music scene, and they're the ones bringing something real to the table. From bold, thought-provoking tracks like Incompetent Fool to empowering, forward-moving songs like Breaking It All, Keith continues to deliver music that not only sounds great, but carries a message and a purpose behind it. And that's exactly what we aim to bring you here on the Record Machine Show. Real conversations, real artists, and real music. And with that, we're going to leave you with one more track from Keith Shaw. This one's all about breaking through, standing your ground, and rebuilding stronger than ever. This one's called Breaking It All. I'm James Michael Hollenstein, and this has been the Record Machine Show. Until next time, keep those records spinning.
I've built these walls, spent a lifetime standing tall, but every stone, it weighs me down in this forest. telling me to set it right. The chains are tight, I see a spark. Time to break free, ignite the dark. I'm breaking it all, tearing it down. No more hiding, I'm standing my ground. Watch it crumble, see it fall. From the ashes, I'll rebuild it all. On the floor, I've turned the key, unlocked the door. The winds of change are calling me into the tempest. I'm finally free. In the chaos, find my way. Like the shadows, reclaim the day. The noise is gone, I hear my heart. Every ending is a brand new start. I'm breaking it all, tearing it down. No more hiding, I'm standing my ground. Watch it crumble, see it fall. From the ashes, I'll rebuild it all. I'm breaking it all, tearing it down. No more hiding, I'm standing my ground. Watch it crumble. From the ashes, I'll rebuild it all.
The Record Machine Show is a weekly radio podcast produced by Jimmy Hall Productions. All rights reserved. For distribution information or to add this podcast to your website, please visit our contact page at therecordmachineshow.com to submit your request. Thanks for listening. See you next time on The Record Machine Show.